Among the many complicated and difficult topics of our past decade, the subject of Islam or the relationship between Muslims and the West has been especially divisive, polarizing, and popular. The 24-hour news cycle, print, digital media, as well as social media has been able to weave this narrative that basically has made us draw a straight line between religious ideas and violence. This doesn't always mean that there is an ill intent behind it. Some of these are purely for academic or research purposes, some of these are for policy reasons, and of course there are some of those that serve very little purpose beyond being trolling and purposefully inflammatory. To simplify it, some genuinely believe that there is a connection between religion and violence, while some use these just to get a reaction out of others. For whatever reason it happened though, a large proportion of the West has a very low opinion of Muslims and by extension Islam. In response to this, there have been a number of people who took a stand against this perception and tried to level out the field. They engaged in discussions, debates, wrote books, articles, some even made movies and TV shows to explain that there's more to these fundamentalist ideologies than just the interpretation of the individuals involved. There are real social, economic, political, and historical factors that work together to create what the media calls a terrorist. And so it's not a great idea to clump together 1.5 billion people under a single umbrella term. Deeyah Khan, a Norwegian British director and activist, was part of this group of people who were trying to bring more nuance to the debate between Islam and the West. Unlike others, however, she took a different approach. To better understand the people behind radical extremists, she made a documentary in 2015 featuring up-close and personal conversations with former jihadists. While others were just trying to debate head-on with critics of Islam, Deeyah decided to go straight to the source. What she found and filmed in the documentary, however, was not quite out of the ordinary. At least not out of the ordinary for those who were already kinda in the know about what goes on in the background. These individuals believe that their holy book is their constitution. They want the empires that have done much harm to their civilization to fall, and they're willing to offer their lives in this pursuit. Why did they embrace this message? Well, they felt ashamed of their identity. They were not able to fit in. They felt extremely marginalized during their formative years. Most of them experienced varying levels of racism, and all of them felt very victimized. They simply did not feel accepted in the society around them and craved some sort of recognition. So this complicated mixture of social and psychological factors made them irresistibly drawn towards extremist groups with promises of glory, recognition, and being part of something grand. But around mid-2010s, something very interesting and sinister was happening around the world. There was a rise in white ethno-nationalist movements in parts of Europe and America, as well as an uptick in hate crimes against minority groups. There were multiple factors to this, and this wasn't a localized phenomenon either. But there was a general tension in the political sphere with the rise of far-right leaning groups. In 2017, Deeyah Khan released her second documentary, this time on the subject of white ethno-nationalism, in an effort to better understand why some people embraced that message. She covered a Ku Klux Klan rally, met with the leader of the National Socialist Movement, and even visited a training camp. Again, she was on the hunt to answer the same question: what drew some individuals to these extreme and radical ideologies? These people believe that their identity and heritage was under attack, and that there is an elaborate plan to replace the white population with immigrants. In response to the perception of being marginalized by immigrants and to protect their own identity, these individuals have quite literally taken up arms and have been involved in many violent episodes. So what is so special about these two documentaries? For as long as people have been debating the relationship between religion and violence, one side has been insisting that it has mostly to do with the tenets of the religion itself, while the other side has been trying to contextualize this violence through external factors. What Deeyah did through her documentaries is that she showed how fragile this first line of thinking is and how strongly social, political, and psychological factors play into radicalization. She shattered the idea that somehow radicalization is a Muslim monopoly. Both of her works on extremist Muslims as well as white ethno-nationalists reveal certain commonalities that just laid bare the foundations of ideologically inspired violence. Both of these groups resorted to violence as a result of certain social and political factors, their life experiences, their feeling of alienation, and circumstances in their immediate surrounding. This does not excuse them of their choices that have caused so much suffering to so many victims, but it does put an end to the idea that equates one religion and its followers to violence and terror. The genius of Deeyah Khan and her work lies in bringing to light what most of us already knew. that radicalization and terrorism has no jurisdiction, that it arises out of a very unique human condition, and that religion, race, nationality, or any ideology is only a crutch and not the legs that it stands on.